America, we stand for freedom. Though freedom is never really free, we yearn and strive for government protecting our liberty.
I'm John Souza, Chairman of the Leominster City Committee, and I would like to welcome you to the inaugural edition as we see it. Just like to say this is our first time, and you might find a few things might go askew, but please be patient with us. It's a local, purpose of the program to provide a local venue for state and local, national, so that you can get information and then we can give you the opinions. By no means this opinion expressed or shows reflect the opinion of the panel of the mass or national Republican parties. Before I introduce our guest today, I would like to acknowledge Ray Lott's, the Fitchburg Republican Committee, for excellent introductory music, America, We Stand for Freedom, written by Mary Lotz and Larry Laverne, guitar and vocals by Larry Laverne. Our guest today, Rich Bastien, candidate for State Senate of the Worcester Middlesex District. Rich's district comprises the cities of Leominster, Fitchburg, and Gardner, in the towns of Berlin, Bolton, Townsend, Lancaster, Lunenburg, Sterling, Westminster, and the precincts of 1 and 2 in Clinton. Our other guest is Jacques Perrault, candidate for State Representative of the 4th Worcester District, which consists of the city of Leominster. And we welcome both of you.
Thank you.
Rich, I would like to address the first question to you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and why you chose to run for State Senate?
Sure, John. Again, thank you for having me on today for your inaugural program. 4 generations of my family have lived in this district. 4 generations of my family have worked at Simon's Industries in Fitchburg. I was born in Leominster. I was raised in Fitchburg, grew up in Fitchburg, went through the Fitchburg public school systems. Previously, I've represented Gardner as their state representative, so I have some real-world experience and also some experience in being at the State House and fighting for the residents of our area. I'm a veteran, a teacher, and the reason I'm running is that, having been at the State House myself, it's clear we're not on the right track right now. Since my opponent has been at the State House as a state senator, we've lost over 1,200 jobs in this district, and people are hurting out there. And when people have come up to me and asked me to run, I thought long and hard about it, but I know that it's the right decision because we can't keep going down the path that we're going and expect things to change. We have to be willing to stand up and fight and listen to the people in this district, and that's what I intend to do at the State House next year.
No, thank you very much. Jacques, I'd like to ask you the same question.
And congratulations on your inaugural program. Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be one of the first guests. I was born and raised on Cape Cod. I went to school in Rhode Island at Bryant College, where I got my Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. I moved to Leominster about 12 years ago with my wife to start and raise our family. We loved the fact that it was a city with a town feel to it, and something that we very much love today. And we have been blessed with 4 children. We currently have 9-year-old triplets and a 7-year-old daughter, so keep busy even when I'm not campaigning. I'm running because I think things aren't as bad off as they're always made out to be during a campaign season. I think they could be doing much, much better. And I don't think Beacon Hill is doing its part to accelerate us along that path as quickly as we could be. There's an imbalance, really, that's preventing us from making that progress. And so when I get up there, I'm really going to be focusing on helping small businesses, reducing the red tape they go through. I want to bring more manufacturing to Leominster and gateway cities outside of 495. And I want to focus on the loopholes that are in the welfare system and the EBT program. So that's really where I'm going to be focusing.
Thank you very much. Rich, you formerly held office as a State Repp in Gardner. Is there a reason you chose to run for Senate instead of running for State Repp again?
Sure, John. A lot of the issues that face our region are district-wide and region-wide. Being a state rep you're keyed into your local officials and you're helping out one particular city. But a lot of the issues that happen, particularly in northern Worcester County, being so close to New Hampshire, whatever happens in Leominster impacts Fitchburg or impacts Gardner. And being someone that has lived in a larger portion of this district over their lifetime, with the exception of when I served overseas in the Navy, I think I have that experience that lets me know, what's important for Leominster sometimes is slightly different from what's Fitchburg or Gardner's needs. And you need to have a state senator that understands particularly what we need to do in this whole region, not just in one particular city or town. I look forward to that. When I was at the State House, I consistently fought for lower taxes. I fought for better jobs for our region. And again, with one of the highest unemployment rates in the entire state, I feel that we need to get somebody up there representing us that has the experience of working at the State House, but also working real jobs so they can bring that together.
No, thank you very much, Rich. What do you see as your biggest challenge to winning?
The biggest challenge to
Rich.
winning? Well, let's face it. My opponent is backed by almost every single special interest group out there. She consistently votes for higher taxes, and then those taxes get steered into programs that the people that donate to her campaign support, and then they end up writing checks to her to keep her in office. So the people on Beacon Hill that want the backroom deals and want higher taxes, they're the ones that are in favor of keeping her in office. But I'll tell you, the people that I meet every day out here, the people that are struggling to pay their bills, the people that are, in danger of losing their homes and veterans, they're looking for change on Beacon Hill this year. So it's a grassroots effort. And, I'm not beholden to any of these PACs or special interests. I don't take money from them. The people that support my campaign live here, work here, and grew up here. And I'm proud to represent them and fight for them this year.
No, thank you very much. JP, I understand that you've knocked on a few doors since starting your campaign. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what you've experienced?
Absolutely, I'd love to. Bar none, door knocking has been probably the single most rewarding aspect of my campaign. And to be completely honest, I think it's the only way that you can get to know who your constituents are going to be and really what is important to them. The message that I've been bringing to them, fortunately, has been resonating with them, and I've been getting a lot of interesting perspectives and unique perspectives that I'll be able to bring with me to represent them on Beacon Hill. So, knocked well over 2,000 doors at this point, and I'm going to be knocking a whole lot more between now and November, and I look forward to meeting even more of my future constituents.
Okay. Any kind of interesting anecdote or thing that happened on your campaign trail?
Let me see, things that we can say on television.
Okay.
Probably, well, I haven't had too many doors slammed in my face, but the most recent, which was about a month ago, I was door knocking with my son, and this has been a great education in civics for my kids, because they've been holding signs, they've been going door knocking occasionally with me at their own request, not me forcing them. And we went to one particular door. It was open, which you know they're home if the door is open. And I knocked on it, and a gentleman came to the door, looked at me, backed up, slammed the door. And I kind of smiled and left him a flyer anyways. Maybe he was just busy or something, who knows. And I looked at my son, and my son said, "Well, that was rude." And I said, "No, yes it is, and that's sometimes they're busy, sometimes you don't know what's going on behind those doors. Sometimes they're the ones that are complaining that the loudest about things that aren't changing, and it frustrates you that they're not engaging. You just don't know, and you move on."
Thank you. Rich, you've also spent a good amount of time reaching out to the voters district. What are you hearing on the street?
On the street right now, people are concerned about the economy. That's the number one issue. Again, we have one of the highest unemployment rates in the state. We've seen a number of jobs that have been leaving our area. And again, it comes down to having that person at the State House that has worked in the real world. My opponent, she's been at the State House for 20 years. The only thing she knows is more taxes and bigger government. She's never had a job that didn't involve the taxpayers paying for her. So the only solution that she seems to come up with is, well, if anything else is we got to throw more money, we've got to raise taxes. And that's not what the people in this district need. The people in this district need lower taxes to help them get by and pay their bills. They need full-time jobs out there to help them get a step ahead and be able to afford providing for their kids. And that's the number one issue that people are coming up to me on. And that's the number one issue that I'm going to fight on every day at the State House.
Very good. Rich, you mentioned you've heard a lot about discussion on the automatic gas tax. What do you support the increase on indexing, or what's your feeling on that?
No, I would never support any taxation without representation. You know, the idea that, you know, you have legislators that went to the State House this year and said, you know, it's too hard for us to vote every year because the voters get angry when we raise taxes. Well, they should. So let's just go ahead and just raise them every year so that we don't have to look bad. You know, John F. Kennedy wrote a book, Profiles in Courage. Great book if you haven't read it. That's not Profiles in Courage, that's Profiles in Cowardice. You know, you get elected to take the hard votes at Beacon Hill. I took a lot of hard votes when I was a state representative. Had a lot of people that sometimes agree with me, sometimes disagree with me. But that's the job. And if you're not willing to do that job, then you shouldn't be there in the first place. And that's why I'm running, because we've got to make sure that we bring change and have somebody that's willing to fight for the voters and working families of this district.
Okay. Rich, again, mentioned Jen's been taking a per diem for her mileage. What do you think about this?
Well, you know, I understand the concept of per diems. The concept is that you have people that live closer to Beacon Hill, don't have as far of a ride, and people that live further out, certainly in Leominster, and have extra costs that drive in. I understand that, but I think given the fact that we've raised gas taxes on people to drive to work for a living, I think if you voted for that, you shouldn't be taking per diems anymore. And Jen, over the last few years, she's taken over $13,000 in per diems for driving back and forth to work, while letting the average person have to pay more in taxes this year to pay for their own gas to get to work. I think that's wrong, and as a state senator, I will not take a per diem on Beacon Hill.
Okay, thank you. JP, in the past you've mentioned your opponents support replacing Massachusetts healthcare system with Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. Would you elaborate on the healthcare system and what you think should be done? Also, would you support revising the switch to Obamacare if it could be done?
Sure. So I will note that the move to Obamacare I would not have supported. I think that was the wrong direction. We had a great health plan here in Massachusetts under Romney and the changes they made in 2006. I will say that I'll be watching the reintroduction of the healthcare connector on the 15th. That has cost us nearly $250 million, very carefully to see if they could get a little bit closer to working. The system that we have now have left many without coverage. Providers have been dropping doctors. Doctors have been dropping plans. Businesses have been dropping the various parts of the plan that they offer. There are many that are inadequately covered or not covered at all because of this switch. We're just much, much worse off because of the adoption. Now, I don't know if we're too far down the road to reverse that decision. I don't believe in throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and I don't want to subject our citizens to starting all over again and causing them even more pain. I do believe that it's a very rules-driven system, and that might benefit younger, healthier people. But I think we need to consider giving providers more flexibility when it comes to care for folks with multiple illnesses and mental illnesses and behavioral issues, because that is a group that is not well served by the Affordable Care Act. And I think by allowing providers a little more flexibility, some of them have some very creative plans and team-based approach that they've been fostering, and I think if we give them the flexibility to try applying those, I think that we can at least begin to ameliorate some of the problems that the ACA has imposed upon us. Maybe we can still seek waivers, I don't know, but those are a couple of things I'd like to pursue when I get to Beacon Hill.
Thank you very much. Very thoughtful. Next question for both of you. There has been a great deal of discussion over the last few years about the loss of good-paying jobs in manufacturing in Leominster and in the region. What do you think is the biggest impediment to bringing these jobs to the city and the region? How would you respond to that? Why don't we start with Rich on that first?
The biggest impediment to jobs in this region is the people on Beacon Hill currently. I've served at the State House. I can't tell you the amount of people that serve on Beacon Hill that have absolutely no clue about what the average person is facing in the real world. I had state reps from Cambridge that would come up to me and say, I don't know what you're always squawking about. You know, everything's fine out there. You know, in Cambridge, the unemployment rate's 3%. And I said, that's great. Why don't you go out to Leominster and, you know, let's sit down and talk where the unemployment rate's double that. Why don't you go out to Fitchburg and talk where it's even higher than that? How about veterans, where veterans are even double that? The reason that we're losing these manufacturing jobs is because under Deval Patrick and under President Obama, we've taken away the incentive for creating full-time jobs and made it an incentive to create part-time jobs. I spoke to a business owner in Leominster the other day who said, you know, I'd love to be able to hire full-time people, but the state right now creates me a disincentive and costs me more money to hire somebody full-time, but makes it a lot easier for me to hire somebody part-time. And, you know, I have that experience of knowing that. 16 years ago, I worked for a company. I worked for Advanced Auto Parts in Leominster when I was in college. 16 years ago, there was 8 full-time employees and 4 part-time employees. I now work for the same company nights and weekends when I'm not teaching. Same company, 16 years later, 4 part-time employees, 8 part-time employees. So you have 4 people that used to have a full-time job and health care and 40 hours a week and could provide for their family that now have to work 2 jobs and don't have employer-provided health care. Now, the person at Beacon Hill looks at it and says, well, what's the problem? There's still 12 jobs there. But it's the quality of job that's changing in Massachusetts. And we need to have people that are in office that understand the real-world implications of what we do and make sure that we think of legislation and how it will actually impact it when it gets approved.
No, thank you. JP?
I would echo everything Rich said. It shouldn't be the government's job to just get jobs. Lots and lots of jobs don't necessarily help anyone. What we need are jobs that provide living wages. And manufacturing jobs, more than many others, provide those high-skill, high-paying jobs. Leominster, there's 26 gateway cities here in Leominster. And out of them, Leominster is particularly well suited. It has its proximity to the highways. It has freight and commuter rail, easy access to the airports, educational facilities like Fitchburg State and others. We have a great labor force. And despite all of those things, it's extremely difficult to get manufacturers to look outside of 495. And when they do, they generally stop at Devon's. And we need to understand why that's happening. And that's something that I will certainly be focusing on to better understand that. There's other things like state incentives, like the Economic Development Incentive Plan, which are great, but they don't take into account the different factors that are happening in different municipalities. We can't have, you know, a one-size-fits-all approach. Many of the EDIP incentive or qualifications are well above the thresholds that manufacturers in Leominster can take advantage of. So a great program is completely beyond their reach. And so I think that's another thing we can look at is tailoring some of these programs so that everybody can take advantage of it and not just a few.
Okay, thank you. JP, I understand that you and your opponent were offered the opportunity to debate by the Fitchburg Sentinel and Fitchburg State University. Can you fill us in on what happened?
Sure. I mean, anyone who's watching the show who hasn't heard about this, I don't know what to say other than I can only reiterate what I've already said, that I'm disappointed in Mr. Rosa's decision not to debate me, but I'm not surprised. Beyond that, I'm looking forward to attending the debate on the 28th between Rich and his opponent. And if anyone wants to ask me questions before or after, I'd be happy to do that. I did ask the Sentinel and Fitchburg State if they'd be interested in doing an empty chair, and they said out of impartiality concerns, they thought that that wouldn't be a good idea. So I will still be in attendance and listening to the candidates who have the courage to share their thoughts with the people in an open exchange of ideas. I'll be there, you know, in the crowd just like I was 2 years ago, but I'll be there.
Thank you. JP, the last couple of years, Leominster residents have seen their property taxes increase every year. Increasing property taxes is particularly burdensome to the seniors. As a state rep, is there anything you would like to see done to help these seniors?
Well, absolutely. There's no question there. It's when I do talk to seniors or folks who are approaching retirement, that's one of their biggest concerns is that their retirement savings, that they are going to outlive the savings that they've been working for all of their life. To your point with property taxes, I know there's laws in the books today that provide deferrals or exemptions based on various factors such as age and income and property value. And one thing that we can absolutely look at is making sure that we're looking at enough of those factors and that they're keeping up with things like inflation and medical advances that allow people to live longer, to make sure that we just didn't put a number in a book and that's that. We want to make sure that we're enabling these people who've worked all their lives and have now retired can enjoy that for as long as they need to. I think that's where I'd focus on is making sure that those exemptions and whatnot work for them.
Okay, Rich, what's your feeling on that?
I think when you look at why property taxes are going up because local aid has been cut. Governor Patrick 8 years ago promised that he would run for office and that he would seek, cut property taxes for seniors and wave a magic wand, and instead the exact opposite thing has happened. In just the last 8 years, and again, since my opponent has been in office, state spending has grown by $8 billion, but local aid is down by $350 million. It's millions of dollars a year over the last few years that Leominster has lost out on from state aid that should have came to Leominster that hasn't. And instead of it being sent to Leominster to keep property taxes low for our seniors and provide services for firefighters and teachers and police officers, that money is being given back to their Beacon Hill friends to be spent on programs so that they can get more money for their programs so that they can end up getting a check back for their campaigns from the same people. And we have to have local aid restored. We've got the money. We have the money. $8 billion more in spending. We can easily tomorrow put that $350 million back in the budget and restore some of these property tax increases that have affected seniors. And we have to get back to having good fiscal stewardship on Beacon Hill.
Thank you. You both talked about bringing transparency to state government. Rich, let's start with you as a state senator. Would you recommend bringing more transparency?
I'm always in favor of more transparency. I've been at the State House. I've seen the backroom deals done. I've seen us herded into a back room where we have to basically kiss the ring and lobby for a particular park or funding mechanism that would benefit people every day. That's not the way it should be done. The Sunlight Foundation is a nonprofit, nonpartisan group. They rate Massachusetts as an F when it comes to transparency. So I don't know how people on Beacon Hill can say that they're proud of their record or proud of their transparency when a group's rating us as an F. I taught kids for a living. An F's not good. We can certainly do better. And the people that are currently in office right now, including my opponent, have consistently voted against the transparency reforms that the Sunlight Foundation recommends. Consistently voted against, opening up the budget so that people can see, lack of consolidated budgets so that each individual item is debated on the floor. Having those things happen, and I look forward to seeing that happen in the future.
How about you, JP? We're starting to run down to the end.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with Rich. It's important to have a full picture of how a decision was reached, and that's just not possible under today's law. And it's not fair to the people because they don't know what's going on behind those closed doors. So again, one of the things I will do, January 1st or whenever it is that they have us into that chamber the first time, is start filing bills again. Hopefully the majority won't kill it again, that allow us to see the minutes of those committee meetings and the votes of the committee members. So people are able to see really and truly how they're being represented.
Okay. One last question for both of you. What would be, when you get to the State House and you're elected, what's going to be your first action? I'll start with Rich.
Okay, the first bill I will file is called the Employee Act, Empowering Massachusetts Providers Lacking Opportunity. It's going to create a tax incentive for businesses to come back to areas of higher than average unemployment, which is our district. Like JP said, there's a lot of jobs being created inside 128, but those employers don't have an incentive to come back out here. We need to balance that give businesses an incentive to locate out in our area. We have some great people that are looking for jobs, just looking for an opportunity to get back to raising their family. And the more that we can do at the State House to expand that job growth area, bring it outside 128 and expand it statewide, it's going to benefit everybody in the state, help make it easier to keep taxes low. And that's the first bill and the first thing I'm going to do as state senator.
JP?
For my part, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to look at those economic development incentive programs and see what we can do about getting them to be more suitable to cities of all sizes instead of just one.
No, thank you. Just a closing statement on this. We've had I think a very lively and some very good information has come out, and I think it's very important that the people of Leominster, above all, get out and make your selection. And the most important thing is, above all, is to get out there on November 4th and vote, because that's a right that we have. And we've got to exercise that right. We have to, and we have no right to complain, if we don't take our right to vote. So I wish to thank the LATV and the Fitchburg Republican Committee for their assistance in production of our first show. They have a very successful show on FATV, and I've watched it, and they do a real good job. And we hope to have a monthly show where we'll be able to go forward and bring up some more topics. So if anyone's interested, want to bring a few more topics forward, bring it to us. Let LATV know. Let me know, and we'd be glad to follow it up with that. So I think are we winding down on? Okay, I was given the circle to wind down, and we're winding down for the day. Thank you, Rich. Thank you, JP.
Thank you.
It's been a great day, and we want to move forward.
Excellent.
Good luck.
America, we stand for freedom. So let us all unite to yearn and strive for our republic that reflects our values, that preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and might, that reflects our values and preserves our rights, and goes forth in power and